Listen carefully, because what you're about to hear is not motivation. It's a rewiring. The world you live in does not reward the kind, the pure, or the hopeful. It rewards the one who understands how power thinks, how it moves, how it hides. You don't rise because you're good. You rise because you are precise, because you stop drifting and start directing. Life is not a story. It's a battlefield dressed up as a workplace, a relationship, a conversation. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago, and nothing has changed except the clothes. The weapons are cleaner now. Tone, attention, silence, perception. But the game is the same. The question is simple. In that game, are you going to be the one moved or the one moving? From this moment on, you are no longer just a person trying their best. You are a strategist who thinks in lines, not feelings. A warrior who acts with discipline, not impulse. Combine both, and you stop playing for survival and start playing for rule. You don't think like a follower anymore. You think like a sovereign mind, above the noise, above the chaos, above the fake morality that tells you to be harmless while the ruthless collect everything you want. You are no longer here to be nice. You are here to be in control of yourself, and therefore, of everything that depends on you. This is not positivity. This is indoctrination into a colder order, control, command, and calm brutality. If you understand what's being said, drop this in the comments. I move with calculated calm. After tonight, you don't live by mood, you live by method. The first pillar of that method is this. The foundation of power is cold rationality. Power begins the moment your emotions stop calling the shots. Every time you decide while angry, afraid, desperate, jealous, or obsessed with being liked, you are not choosing. You are handing the steering wheel to whoever knows how to pull those strings. Emotion, in the wrong hands, is a remote control. And most people walk around broadcasting the exact buttons to press. A strategist refuses that. He doesn't amputate his emotions. He disciplines them. Think like a surgeon in an operating room. There is blood, there is danger, but his hands don't shake. He is surrounded by chaos, but he is not of it. He observes, cuts, repairs. That is cold rationality. You must become that surgeon of human behavior. Study reactions the way a doctor studies symptoms. Watch how people flinch when criticized, how they light up when praised, how they betray themselves when they feel safe, how they change tone when status is involved. The world is not a fair playground. It is a chessboard of appetites, fears, and illusions. Some move pieces. Most are the pieces. When you move with reason, you see 3 moves ahead. When you move with impulse, you become the sacrifice no one warns you about. Never confuse kindness with weakness, in yourself or in others. Your calm must not be softness. It must be calculation. Your silence must not be submission. It must be selection. You speak when it serves your position. You respond when it strengthens your leverage. You walk away when the only thing you would gain is the cheap satisfaction of reacting. Detach from the need to be liked. The minute you need people to see you as good, you become their employee. Detach from the need to prove anything. Insecurity is louder than any insult. It screams through over-explaining and begging to be understood. The powerful don't waste breath on that. They let results speak and let confusion around them thicken like fog. Rationality is not the absence of feeling. It is the dominion over it. Picture your emotions as fire. In average people, that fire burns the house down. In a strategist, that fire is contained in a furnace, turning steel into a weapon. Same flame, different discipline. A cold mind is not dead inside. It is simply unowned. It cannot be provoked on command, bought with flattery, or broken with guilt. People look at it and realize, I don't know what moves this person, and that unsettles me. Good. Uncertainty in them is safety in you. Train your emotions to obey logic. Train your logic to serve victory, not ego. Sometimes you let things go, not because you are weak, but because engaging would cost more power than it gains. Sometimes you stand firm and say no, not because you're angry, but because the line is non-negotiable. Your calm is not silence. It is aim. It tells the world, I will not be moved by petty things because I am busy shaping bigger ones. If this lands with you, write it in the comments. My calm is my weapon. Emotional control is the first law of dominance. The moment your inner state stops being a playground for other people's triggers, you stop being a character in their story and become the author of your own. Every move you make is either an investment in that power or a surrender of it. The second pillar of this discipline is perception, the art of manipulating the world without ever appearing to touch it. Perception is power wearing a mask. It is influence disguised as presence. And manipulation, contrary to what the weak believe, is not deceit. It is engineering. It is the ability to shape belief, emotion, and expectation so subtly that people walk into your design thinking they arrived on their own. Every empire, every ruler, every strategist throughout history has understood one fundamental truth. Reality is never what is objectively true. Reality is what people believe is true. And the one who engineers belief engineers outcomes. A Machiavellian mind does not chase approval. It constructs illusions so effective that approval becomes irrelevant. You don't ask people to trust you, you appear trustworthy. You don't ask people to follow you, your certainty pulls them like gravity. You don't announce your intentions, you scatter decoys, letting your real movement stay buried beneath ambiguity. You must learn to wear masks that serve the moment, stoic when challenged, warm when observed, disinterested when pursued, ruthless when crossed. You are not being fake, you are being strategic. A sword changes angles depending on the battle. That doesn't make it dishonest, it makes it lethal. The weak announce their intentions. The strong conceal their architecture. They hide their motives behind silence, letting others project whatever story makes them comfortable. Meanwhile, the strategist moves according to plan, untouched by guesses, immune to interpretation. Ambiguity is armor. Mystery is leverage. When people cannot predict you, they cannot prepare for you. When they think they understand you, but keep being wrong, they begin to doubt themselves, and that doubt becomes fertile ground for your influence. Words are blades. Use them with precision. A single phrase can cut through uncertainty, bend emotion, or redirect attention. The right silence at the right moment is a hammer blow. The right facial expression is a message that someone spends 3 days trying to decode. Appear trustworthy but stay detached. Make allies but keep leverage. Respect appearances but worship results. The art of manipulation is not chaos. It is discipline. It is the patience to let people reveal themselves fully before you decide how to engage. Their insecurities, their ambitions, their desires, these are levers. Once you know the lever, you no longer need force. You only need timing. Remember, those who reject manipulation entirely are usually the ones being manipulated most. They comfort themselves with moral superiority while someone else quietly designs the environment they walk through. Power flows toward the one who understands that perception shapes reality more strongly than truth ever will. When they see your calmness, they submit. When they feel your confidence, they follow. When they sense your detachment, they respect your distance. Control how they see you, and you never have to demand respect. It will arrive without invitation. If you understand this, comment, "I command," through perception. The third pillar is fear, not rage, not aggression, not violence, but presence. Fear is respect distilled. It is obedience without shouting, loyalty without bribery, silence without threats. Fear, balanced with composure, becomes an invisible crown. The strategist knows that the most powerful form of fear is not terror, it is inevitability. The sense that you cannot be shaken, that your standards are steel, that crossing you comes with a cost no one wants to pay. When you walk into a room, your presence should whisper before your voice ever speaks. Not loudness, not showmanship, but stillness. A stillness that makes others adjust their energy. A stillness that says, "I don't need validation to be here." A stillness that rattles the insecure because it exposes their noise. Calm power unsettles people more deeply than anger ever could. Anger is predictable. Calmness is not. It forces people to measure themselves before approaching you, and that hesitation gives you control. Do not confuse fear with cruelty. True fear is created through emotional discipline, not brutality. A leader who breaks their composure destroys their mystique, and mystique is the foundation of power. When people do not know the limits of what you will do, they assume those limits are dangerous. The weak depend on connection to feel whole. The strong cultivate distance to stay sovereign. You must never fear isolation. Isolation is where power regenerates. Like a sword left in the forge, your strength is not in constant use. It is in the controlled heat that hardens you. Let people sense that your tolerance has an edge sharp enough to draw blood. Speak less, move less, make every gesture intentional. Power grows in stillness. Destruction hides in cluttered movement. Never reveal your emotional blueprint. The moment people understand you, they can disarm you. Instead, become a shifting pattern, predictable enough to appear trustworthy, unpredictable enough that no one dares test you openly. The goal is not to terrify people. The goal is to make them hesitate before disrespecting you. That hesitation is your shield. People are drawn to strength, but they are governed by fear of losing access to it. Maintain that paradox, and you control the room before you even enter it. Comment, "I move with silent authority." If this resonates, understand what it truly implies. Fear, when wielded with discipline, becomes architecture, the invisible structure that shapes how others approach, speak, act, and retreat around you. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be obeyed by the logic of your presence. The fourth pillar of power is detachment, not emotional numbness, but emotional sovereignty. Detachment is freedom forged into a weapon, because the moment you stop needing something, nothing can be used against you. Most people are chained from the inside. They cling to validation, obsess over approval, chase relationships, depend on attention, and mistake attachment for loyalty. What they don't realize is simple. Anything you cling to becomes a leash someone else can pull. A strategist sees the world differently. He sees attachment for what it truly is, a trap disguised as comfort. Emotional dependency destroys authority. It makes you predictable, influenceable, controllable. And nothing threatens power more than being owned by your own desires. Detachment is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is the strength to cut cords the moment they compromise your purpose. It is the discipline to walk away from what no longer aligns with your path, even when your emotions beg you to stay. Not because you are cold, but because you refuse to be conquered by impulse. Think of detachment like a mirror. The more indifferent you become, the more others project their hopes, fears, and desires onto you. They chase your attention because you do not compete for theirs. They crave your approval because you do not seek theirs. They feel magnetized because you do not move toward them. You create a vacuum that pulls them in. Indifference is not apathy. It is mastery. It is the supreme advantage of operating without emotional debt. You must not chase, you attract. You must not plead, you become irreplaceable. You must not react, you calculate. Let purpose dictate your moves, not passion. Passion burns bright, then blinds you. Purpose burns slow and guides you. The detached man does not fold under rejection because he does not rely on acceptance for identity. He does not crumble under betrayal because he never expected permanence in the first place. He does not panic when someone pulls away because he stands on his own footing, not theirs. A truly detached mind is not frozen, it is fire-contained, intense but controlled. Emotion lives there but under command. Not one feeling moves without permission. Not one impulse acts without reason. You are not emotionless. You are emotionally untouchable. Inside this state, insults lose their sting. Rejection becomes direction. Betrayal becomes information. Failure becomes recalibration. Nothing external destabilizes you because nothing external defines you. To reach this level, you must train your mind daily. Observe without reacting. Endure without complaining. Respond only when the response strengthens your position. Most people discharge their emotions instantly. They need to get it out. The strategist stores his energy like a battery, releasing it only when it advances long-term victory. Comment this if you understand. My detachment is my dominance, because that is the truth. Power doesn't come from possessing things. It comes from being free from their possession over you. And once you no longer need anything or anyone to validate your worth, you rise above the reach of manipulation entirely. You become a force governed only by your own principles. Now we enter the fifth pillar. Patience time as a weapon. Patience is not passive. It is not waiting around hoping life improves. Patience is pressure in slow motion. It is the art of bending time so that others destroy themselves while you remain untouched. The impulsive man reveals everything. His desires, his insecurities, his strategy, his weakness. He shows his hand because he cannot endure silence. He exposes his motives because he cannot endure uncertainty. He rushes because he is terrified of stillness. And in that rush, he makes himself readable, predictable, defeatable. The patient man is the opposite. He is lethal precisely because he is slow. Power does not sprint. It stalks. It watches from the shadows while others exhaust themselves chasing illusions. It waits while others sabotage themselves. It studies cycles, patterns, triggers. It detects weakness long before weakness detects it is being seen. Time, when commanded, becomes the most obedient servant. The Machiavellian strategist understands this. He cultivates delayed conquest, the discipline to deny immediate gratification for a far greater reward. While others crumble in their urgency, the patient man collects information, leverage, opportunity. In patience, there is dominance. Every second you do not react grants you insight. Every pause draws out someone else's desperation. Every delay makes your eventual strike cleaner, quieter, and irreversible. Do not confuse inactivity with patience. Patience is not doing nothing. Patience is strategic stillness, the coiled tension of a storm waiting inside you. It is readiness disguised as calm. When you master patience, you begin to predict people. You begin to understand them, not through words, but through timing. You see the rhythm of human behavior repeat endlessly. You see who cracks under silence, who overeats attention, who reveals themselves when they think you're not watching. This is the power of time. It exposes greed, fear, and desire. It reveals allies and enemies. It lets fools dig their own graves. Patience is the trap they set for themselves. And you are the hunter tightening it 1 quiet inch at a time. Comment: time obeys my will, because when patience becomes instinct, success becomes inevitable. Nothing can shake you, nothing can rush you, nothing can bait you. You choose the moment. You choose the battlefield. You choose the outcome. Now we enter the 6th pillar, the strategist's mind, the architecture of control. A strategist does not think like the average person, because the strategist does not react, he orchestrates. His mind is not a room filled with noise. It is a fortress built with corridors of intention, each one leading toward advantage. Inside this mind, nothing is random. Every thought is filtered. Every instinct is refined. Every movement is weighed against consequence. You do not chase fairness, emotions, or ideals. You chase leverage. You chase position. You chase inevitability. To think like a strategist, you must remove the illusion that people are mysterious. They are not. Human nature is repetitive, predictable, programmable. People reveal everything when you watch them without empathy, without projection, without personal bias. Every person has an equation: inputs, motives, impulses, predictable actions. Learn the equation, and you no longer navigate people. You direct them. A strategist understands that control is never loud. Loud power is fragile. Loud power is insecure. Loud power tries to convince others of what it doesn't fully believe itself. True control is quiet. So quiet it becomes atmospheric. Like gravity, it affects everything without announcing itself. To reach this level, you must cultivate 3 habits. Watch without reacting. Silence is pressure. Silence is exposure. Silence forces others to reveal what they would have otherwise hidden. Listen without signaling agreement. The person speaking tries to read your reaction. Give them nothing, and their insecurity compels them to expose more. Plan without speaking. When your intentions are invisible, your moves are unpredictable. When your moves are unpredictable, your influence becomes unavoidable. Most people spend their attention recklessly on gossip, distraction, comparison, emotional chaos. The strategist spends attention like currency, only where it compounds, only where it gives leverage, only where it builds power. Most men crave validation. You must crave advantage. Your mind must become both map and weapon. Map, because you see the terrain of people, motives, alliances, threats. Weapon, because you can strike with precision when the moment demands it. Think in layers, not moments. Today's loss might be tomorrow's bait. A temporary surrender might be a future trap. You don't seek petty victories, you seek rhythm. When you control the rhythm of conflict, you control the outcome. The strategist's patience is terrifying because it is rooted in certainty. He does not fear chaos. Chaos destroys those who cannot think. Chaos rewards the one who can think through it. Train your intellect to see beyond the surface. The words people say matter far less than the spaces between those words. People betray themselves in what they avoid, what they hesitate on, what they emphasize too intensely. Awareness is your greatest weapon. You collect information as others collect comfort. You turn knowledge into control, control into influence, influence into empire. Comment this if you understand. My mind is my fortress. Now we step into the 7th pillar. Adaptation. Evolve or erase. Adaptation is not flexibility. It is not being easygoing. Adaptation is intelligent evolution. It is the ability to transform yourself faster than circumstances transform around you. The man who fears change has already lost. He dies while standing still. Strength does not grant survival, adaptability does. Every empire that refused to evolve collapsed, not from outside invasion, but from internal stagnation. Adaptation is anticipation. It is reading the wind before the storm forms. It is shifting your strategy while others are still arguing about their options. It is becoming a shapeshifter of power hard to predict, impossible to trap. You must stop worshiping consistency. Consistency is a coffin for growth. Consistency is how people imprison themselves in outdated versions of who they used to be. A strategist sheds identities like a snake sheds skin, not out of crisis, but out of calculation. Evolution requires ego death. You must kill the outdated version of yourself so a stronger one can take its place. Adaptation is not reaction, it is proactive transformation. When betrayal comes, you adjust your alliances. When conflict hits, you reframe the battlefield. When you lose something, you recalibrate your strategy and gain something new. When the system changes, you do not resist, you rewire your advantage. The adaptable move so quickly that enemies swing at ghosts. Repeat this if you understand. I evolve faster than chaos. Adaptation is intentional. It demands brutal honesty. You must monitor patterns, trends, shifts in power, changes in behavior. You must feel the pulse of opportunity before others hear its heartbeat. The first mover controls the narrative. He looks prophetic, but he is simply prepared. Adaptation means knowing when to retreat so you may re-emerge stronger, when to become invisible so you can rebuild unnoticed, when to shed an old identity so a more strategic one can rise. The world fears the adaptable because they cannot be cornered. They do not break. They do not freeze. They simply transform, and transformation is the ultimate power. Now we enter the 8th pillar, isolation, power, and solitude. Isolation is not loneliness. It is concentration. It is stepping away from noise so your thoughts sharpen into weapons. It is refusing to be diluted by the emotions, doubts, and fears of others. Most people cannot stand solitude because solitude reveals who they truly are. In silence, their insecurities scream. In stillness, their lack of purpose burns. They need noise to drown themselves out. The strategist is different. He uses isolation as a forge. Alone, he recalibrates. Alone, he sees the world without distortion. Alone, he hears his own mind clearly enough to build an empire from it. Solitude strips you of excuse. When you stand alone, you confront your raw potential and your raw weakness. You discover where you must evolve. You discover where you must cut ties. You discover who you are when the world is not shaping you. Isolation turns you into someone who does not need. And when you no longer need anyone, you become the one everyone wants access to. Comment this: my silence builds empires. Because when solitude feels like strength instead of punishment, you have reached a level where the world cannot touch you. The 9th pillar is control. Mastery of self as the root of mastery over life. Nothing in the external world can truly belong to you if your internal world remains chaotic. Control is not about suppressing emotion, but about governing it with purpose. It is the art of turning anger into clarity, fear into intuition, disappointment into recalibration. The weak collapse because they react. The strong rise because they respond. A strategist never lets emotion choose the moment. He does not argue with insults. He does not rush to defend himself. He does not panic when confronted with uncertainty. His calmness is not softness. It is a shield. It is leverage. It is what reveals the desperation of others while protecting his own power. Control begins with self-awareness. You cannot control what you cannot articulate. If you don't know your triggers, you will be controlled by anyone who finds them. If you don't recognize your emotional blind spots, someone will weaponize them. If you don't study your habits will quietly shape your fate. Every person has psychological levers: ego, guilt, greed, attachment, desire for validation. To control others, you identify their lever. To control yourself, you dismantle your own. Once those levers no longer grip you, you become impossible to manipulate. You move from being reactive to being unreadable, and unreadable is the essence of power. True influence is subtle. The strategist does not demand respect. He behaves in a way that causes others to monitor themselves. He does not force obedience. He creates an atmosphere where disobedience feels dangerous. He does not intimidate with volume. He intimidates with certainty. Mystery amplifies authority. The less predictable you are, the more carefully people step around you. This is why control must be quiet. Loud control is insecurity in disguise. Quiet control is gravitational. It shifts the behavior of others without effort. If you understand this, say it. I master myself first. Because control is not a moment. It is a discipline, a daily sharpening of mind, habits, and reactions. When you rule your internal landscape, the external one bends naturally. Now comes the final pillar, ascension. Becoming untouchable. Untouchable does not mean detached from emotion. It means emotion cannot sabotage you. It means you feel, but you do not fold. It means you see betrayal, but you do not break. It means you witness manipulation, but you do not enter its gravity. Untouchable is a state where your identity is built on principle, not permission. You are no longer harmed by criticism or inflated by praise. Your worth stops fluctuating with the opinions around you. You walk through life steady, not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. The untouchable man moves with calm aggression. Calm, because nothing rattles him. Aggression, because every move he makes is intentional and aligned with purpose. He does not chase opportunity. He designs it. He does not cling to people. He attracts those who match his direction. He does not retaliate emotionally. He responds strategically. Setbacks become strategy. Loss becomes leverage. Conflict becomes clarity. Pain becomes precision. You stop fighting storms and start using their wind. You stop resisting the game and start shaping its rules. You stop seeking stability and become the source of it. This is the Machiavellian state of ascension. Calm, disciplined, and dangerous. Nothing external defines you, not applause, not insult, not circumstance. You define your world through the stability of your own mind. Your power is no longer situational. It becomes structural, part of how you think, decide, and move. If you understand this transformation, say it. I am untouchable. Because true power is not about governing others. It is about mastering yourself so completely that no one can reach the level where you stand. This is the conclusion of Machiavelli's discipline code. control, calm, command, not as tactics, but as identity. And from here, your ascent truly begins.